God. I will be still and know you are God.
You are peace to a restless soul. Yeah, you are peace where my thoughts wage war. You are peace to the anxious heart, and that's who you are. That's who you are.
Yeah, you are peace where my feet takes hold. Yeah, you are peace when I feel enclosed. Oh, you are peace when I lose control. That's who you are. That's who you are. I will soar with you above the storm. Father, you are king over the flood. I will be still, know you are God. Oh, I will be still, know you are God.
As I look into your eyes, moment by moment, I'm living to know you, and I'll leave all else behind. In a world living upside down, you turn it right side up, you turn it right side up. Nothing better than the love I found. I'm dancing in your light, I'm dancing in your light, 'cause nothing else can satisfy. You are the prize, you are the prize. You're all I want for my whole life. You are the prize, you are the prize. Come on. You are the prize. Jesus, forever, I want your presence. What compares to who you
Hey everybody, and welcome to Cornwall Church and our online campus, and welcome to our online studio. We are so grateful that you are attending church with us tonight. If we've not met, I'm Pastor Brian, and a little bit later on you'll see Pastor Kip sitting in for me on the post-service show. Nikki is your chat host, and she's in there right now. And hey, if you're already here, do us a favor if you would you click on check-in? And this is simply a way to let us know you were here. You can update any information, contact information. And if this is your very first time, maybe checking out Cornwall Church tonight for the very first time, I just want to say thank you so much for being here, for checking us out. The next hour and 10 minutes, I think you're going to be blessed. We've got an incredible worship time. I'm bringing the message tonight. And then after the service, Pastor Kip will be here. And he's got some information about how to join our new Facebook group. It's a private group. He's going to give you a code to text, a code word, and you'll want to have your smartphone out for that. As I mentioned, worship today, we've got an incredible worship set led by Ron and Sarah, and then a special worship night coming up on Wednesday. If you're new to Cornwall, the name Refuge might not mean much to you, but we want to tell you it's a special evening coming up on Wednesday, and Ron's going to have all the details. It's an intentional time of worship, communion, and Pastor Kip can be sharing a message about, I don't even know, Kip. You're in the chat. Kip, what are you talking about on Wednesday? It's not on my card, guys. One more thing before we send you to the stage, and that is we love having you here wherever you're watching. Bill and Sharon and Jack, Albert, Meridell, Paul, Gina, thank you so much for being here. The Wagners, Linda, Charlie, and Dee, thanks for being part and attending church and being part of our online community. So grateful to have you here. I'll look forward to seeing you on the stage in just a bit. Right now, sending you to the stage with Ron, Sarah, Trina, Cameron, our entire crew. And then, like I said, after the service today, hang tight. Pastor Kip will be here. Pastor Kip said he's talking about Jesus at Refuge. Anyway, he'll be here after the service today to wrap things up, give you some takeaways, and then tell you about that Facebook group you can join. Make sure to have your smartphone. All right, guys, in the meantime, that's it for me. Sending you to the stage right now here at Cornwall Church.
Well, good evening, Cornwall Church. How you guys feeling tonight? I'm telling you, we're feeling it tonight up here. If you're able to, let's stand. Online, if you're in your living room, why don't you stand too? We're going to be celebrating because God has promised us joy comes in the morning. He has given us His promise, and His promise is always true. So come on, sing this if you know it. Come on. Hey.
We believe it.
never be more loved than I am right now. Wasn't holding you up, so there's nothing I can do to let you down. It doesn't take a trophy to make you proud. I'll never be more loved than I am right now.
Going through a storm, but I won't go down. I hear your voice carried in the rhythm of the wind to call me out. You would cross an ocean, so I worthy of every song we could ever sing, worthy of all the praise we could ever bring, worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. We live for you. Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. So worthy of every breath we could ever breathe.
So this coming Wednesday, we're having our first live Refuge service. Yes. The last one we had was in February of 2020. And so we're meeting here, and I just want to invite you guys. I want to invite you. This is a part of being the church body here at Cornwall Church. We come together, we sing songs, we go through scriptures, we talk about scriptures, but we take communion. We remember what Jesus did for us. And it's a time to reflect and respond to the way Jesus is moving in and through all of us. And whether you're here in the building, online, we're going to be online as well. And if you're not comfortable with being here, we're going to have the online option as well. And you can prepare the wine and the bread, or the juice and the bread, or maybe if you're a college student, it's something, beer and pizza. I don't know. I'm not saying it's not wrong, but here's what we're doing. I want to invite you to be here because this is a celebration, people, and that's our theme for this year. We're going with joy. Joy coming in the morning. God has promised us over and over that joy comes in the morning, and we are in a time where I don't know why you're not clapping, because that joy is coming in the morning, and we're going to be here on Wednesday, and we're going to celebrate. We're going to celebrate what God is doing here in Cornwall Church, down at our Skagit campus, the whole church body just coming together, singing praises, giving thanks to what Jesus has done for all of us. And so I want to invite you to be here with us, whether it's here or online, this Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. This Wednesday, 6:30. Make note of it. I hope you're there with us. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to pray, and then we're going to go on with the service. Jesus, Lord, I thank you for your promises. I thank you for the promise of joy. Lord, that we can continue to lean into it. Lord, may we continue to lean into your goodness and your grace and your mercy and your love. Because God, in the last year and a half, really, you were all we had. You were all we had. Your hope. And we clung to it. And I pray that we continue to cling to it. We continue to move forward with you, Lord. We love you. It's in your name we pray. All God's people said, amen. Thanks for worshiping with us, guys. Go ahead and have a seat.
Well, hey there, Cornwall Church. It's good to have you here this weekend. Those here in the building, those in Skagit, those on the online campus, and those checking out our community sites. It is good to welcome you this weekend to Cornwall. And next weekend, Pastor Bob will kick off our fall series, The Puzzle of Parables, as Pastor Bob, Pastor Kip, and myself sharing in this series, unlocking and uncovering Jesus's intended teaching behind some of the most popular and lesser known parables. And I appreciate what he said last week. Even if you think, parables, I know those, come prepared with an open heart and mind to learn something new, a new insight. But that begins next weekend. As for this weekend, Pastor Bob is not here. He's actually in Oregon competing in his 16th Portland Marathon. Yeah. Now, the Portland Marathon was first run in 1972. It means it's one of the longest running consecutive marathons in the United States, and he's run it 16 times. An estimated 10,000 people will compete this weekend in the Portland Marathon. Now, of course, the quintessential race of endurance is the marathon. The origin of the marathon can be traced back to Greece in 1896, and it remains today as the standard to challenge a runner's endurance. You know, speaking of marathons, did you hear about the marathon runner that ended up in jail? Yeah, he was arrested because he was resisting arrest. You'll get it later. It's okay. I'll probably not do that tomorrow. Okay, the truth is this. To run the Portland Marathon, or any marathon for that matter, you can't just hop off the couch and onto the race course. To race, you must be in shape. And to be in shape, you must train. And to train well, it means you must master endurance. You see, endurance is the practice or ability to withstand hardship or stress or adversity for an extended duration of time. And in this case, for a marathon, it's 26.2 miles. That's a lot of running. Now, good news is, Jesus doesn't call us all to be marathoners. Thank you, Lord. But he does call us all to run. And as I thought about this weekend, in a time of social, emotional, and spiritual fatigue, I think we need the reminder that we are called still to endure. We are called still to keep running even when we might want to give up. You see, endurance is something that touches every aspect of your life. It's not just for sports. It's in our family, it's in our marriage, it's in our workplace, it's in our school, it's in our personal soul care. And for those following Jesus, we have this hope, a reason to keep on running the race set before us on our way to that finish line. Now, Hebrews 12 probably gives the most simple yet detailed picture of how it is we are called to run. Now, before we dive into this text, two important disclaimers. Number one is this. The figurative picture that Paul is going to paint for us revolves around running, like physical running and endurance. So for all the non-Bobs, the non-Ragnars out there, by the way, online, that's a run here in the Northwest. If you're not a runner, good news, this still applies to you. Physical endurance, that's human-based, right? It's all about your mind and preparing your body, the strength, the thinking. But I'm more interested in your spiritual endurance. It's what I want to talk about today. That's Holy Spirit-based. It's all about your heart, moving it from your heart to your head and your faith and your walk with Jesus. And that is true for runners and non-runners alike. The second disclaimer is this. If you've been around the church for any amount of time, likely at some point, someone did a talk, a teaching on this passage. And so for you, let me say this. In a time of social, emotional, and spiritual fatigue, you might need this encouragement more than you think. So having said that, let's dive in. Hebrews 12 begins this way. Therefore, okay, stop. You know, if you've been around Cornwall, you probably have picked up on Pastor Bob and Pastor Kip and my phrases or words that we like. Like Kip is all about geeking out and Greeking out, and Bob's classic is, I wish I had more time for this. And for me, it's the word therefore. And oftentimes I'll say the question, why is there a therefore there? See, this is a really practical, always applicable question when you see the word therefore. It's more than just a biblical filler. This therefore is referring you backwards to see what's previously been written. It's a reminder for us, the reader, to ensure that we've got the context. And so here Paul is telling us with a therefore, there's something important that I've just said. In this case, if we look back, the preceding chapter is all about the Hall of Fame. It's that Hall of Fame chapter where he's talking about those that showcased great faith in the Old Testament. The Noah, the Abraham, the Moses, the Josephs. Now, this is not Paul just name dropping. This is very deliberate, very intentional. We'll see why in just a second. So in other words, that therefore is there to say, hey, don't forget about what I just mentioned. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses. Now, the setting described here is one of athletic nature, taking you to a place, a moment of competition. On opening day, I had the privilege of going to then Seahawks Stadium and getting a tour of the place. Now, I've been on the field at Husky Stadium, I've been on the field at the Kingdome, but never there at Seahawks Stadium. I remember standing in there and just the enormity blew me away. The open sky above, the thousands upon thousands of seats at Lumen Field, the skyscrapers that were peeking over the roof. And as I stood there in the 50-yard line, I just had this thought. What would it be like? What would it sound like? What would it feel like to have thousands upon thousands of people, spectators, cheering me on, saying my name? I imagine it would be the same feeling that an actor might feel when they're playing to a sold-out audience, or a band or a musician performing in front of a capacity crowd. Committed, enthusiastic, and excited fans wanting your best, rooting you on. And that is exactly what Paul is wanting us to visualize right here. Much like how the 12s will show up for the Seahawks, we too have faithful fans. We've got faithful fans in the stands. Now, the Greeks would frequently use the word cloud to indicate or express a great number of. And so in this case, it's a great number of people. So in this cloud of witnesses, who were these people? Well, first, the literal translation of witnesses in Greek is testifiers. So these men, these people he's talking about, are living testimonies of those that have lived out their faith before. Paul's suggesting that the stands are filled with the aforementioned people from the previous chapter. Remember, therefore. Consider Noah and Abraham and Joseph and Moses having front row seats, committed, enthusiastic fans that were excited. Imagine Noah shouting out, yes, there will be naysayers. Keep running. And Moses saying, never say never. Keep running. And Joseph saying, despite those roadblocks, God's got a path for you. Keep running. You see, this cloud of witnesses aren't cheering for touchdowns. Instead, they are rooting on. They want the best for these New Testament believers. And more than just spectators or fans, they're examples. Front row. Imagine them in the front row of the stands at Lumen Field cheering you on. But then what about row 2? If they fill row 1, what about row 2? Behind them, what spiritual all-stars would fill your second row? Those people in your life that have found a place in your bleachers, also watching, also encouraging, inspiring, rooting you on in your faith journey. I know for me, there are several pastors and friends and mentors, and my grandma Lois, who passed away several years ago, probably with a bag of salty popcorn saying, Brian, you can do this. Brian, I'm so proud of you. For me, it's a combination in that second row of those that are right now racing ahead of me and those that have finished running. See, in my personal faith journey, I can imagine them cheering me on and also encouraging me to get up in those low moments. Most athletes will tell you they'll play smarter, they'll swing harder, they'll run faster when they've got fans, cheering fans in the stands. And so for those running the race with Jesus, we do too. Paul continues, because we have this incredible cloud of witnesses, this incredible cheering section, then what? It goes on. The verse goes like this: let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that easily entangles. Now, Focus right here on these first two words, let us. Don't miss that. Let us is a really important words, because it's really an invitation. Us here refers to the Hebrews that had made a profession for Christ, but had not made that full commitment in faith yet. In other words, let us, that's an invitation for them to get off the sidelines and to start playing, to start running. So let us is a, come on, join us. Join us what? Join us in throwing off everything that hinders. The literal translation is let us lay aside every weight. Now this makes sense, right? Think about Michael Phelps, the Olympic swimmer. You wouldn't catch him swimming with a three-piece suit on. Pastor Bob running the marathon, you wouldn't see him holding a bowling ball. To run without anything that hinders means shedding what could hold us down or what could hold us back. Fun fact, in the early Greek games, athletes would wear little to no clothing so that they would have nothing that hinders them. No, I'm not asking you to do that. That was more of a fun fact. In other words, here's what you got to do. Be a smart runner. Be a smart runner. Identify for you what will help you run another lap. What will help you find that sustainable pace? What will encourage you to dig a little deeper? What provides you that glimpse of that kingdom reward? What assures you that running this race that God has laid out for you is worth it? And conversely, identify what drags you down. What takes you off course? What interrupts your faith rhythm? What prevents you from exponential spiritual growth? And then when you determine all that hinders, you're called to throw it to the side, to get rid of it. Now, I get that. That's easier said than done. In fact, Paul then gets more specific, probably for our benefit. He makes sure that he understands there is a call out. He first addresses the hindrances. These are the knowns. These are the ones easy to identify. These are the to-do lists, our agendas, our obligations, our busyness, the everyday occurrences. But wait, there's more. Not all hindrances are sin, but all sins are hindrances. Let me say that again. Not all things that hinder you and I are sin, but all sin hinders our racing. For example, procrastination. Procrastinators here? Procrastination can be a hindrance, but it's not necessarily a sin. But this is that slippery slope, right? This is how it so easily gets us entangled and gets us in trouble. It's when procrastination leads to idle time, which leads to poor choices. It's when busyness leads to a lack of God time, which leads to distance. It's when routine leads to pride, which leads to a lack of humility. And this can happen easily, he says, without you even noticing. It's why the word is easily across translations. That sin that can easily distract us or entangle us or get us in trouble. No Christ follower signs on with an intent to fall away, to become distant or to ruin their testimony. But sin, by its nature, can so easily derail our best efforts. And so the directive is this: to focus on the race and toss away any distraction, any hindrances that can get in our way. Just like bulky clothes would hinder a racer, our sin can hinder our spiritual racing. Know the difference. Know what helps. Know what hurts. Because Satan makes it way too easy for those little things to easily trip us up. Okay, Hebrew 12 continues. It goes like this. Therefore, since surrounded by that great cloud, let us throw off everything, that thing that can get us in trouble, it's so easy, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. So with faithful fans in the stands, and with our hindrances now on the side, and a preparation to race, it's go time. It's time to run and run and run and run and run and run and keep running. Now, everyone has like their worst nightmare. And for some people, it's getting stuck in an elevator. For others, it's getting stuck in It's a Small World. I'll pray for you. But for me, it's the idea of running to run. Like I've had dreams, or I guess nightmares, where I'm just on a treadmill, like running to run. I can run short distances. I've told you before from this platform that in high school, in junior high, I could run the short distance. I could fly. That didn't mean I liked to run, but I could. Now, I certainly didn't like the idea of running ad nauseum, but yet as a Christ follower, that's exactly what I signed up for. To spiritually run and run and run until Jesus sets up the finish line and I get to run through the tape. Albert Einstein said this: endurance is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance and stay up, you must keep moving. So then, until then, I have to keep running with perseverance, building my endurance. And with that light at the end of the tunnel, that race marked out for us. And here's the good news, is we're not running aimlessly. We're not running aimlessly. Paul would write to the Corinthians this: I do not run like someone running aimlessly. I do not box. I do not fight like a boxer beating the air. He would say this exact words: I don't run like someone running aimlessly. We're running a race that's been pre-marked out for us. This is good news. We are running with purpose. Several years ago, we had a high school student in our youth group in Oregon, and he was just an incredible cross-country runner. I remember going to one of the meets and standing there and going, what on earth is going on? Like, what's happening? Everyone's just running. I see them at the beginning. I see them at the end. Where were you running? Were you actually doing anything? I remember talking to Daniel after the race, and I asked something to that case. Like, what happens out there when we see you leave the start line? This is what he said. He said, running aimlessly would make me feel constantly worried about being lost, while running a set course allows me to focus on my race plan and gives me a greater mindset to accomplish the goal. Daniel was not a cross-country runner running aimlessly. He was running a course set out for him. You see, running to run isn't sustainable. Running to run isn't with a goal. Running to run doesn't have a plan. It doesn't have a purpose. And that kind of race can be exhausting. That's not the kind of race God is calling you to. He wants a race that is filled with hope. He says, lace up. Let's run and run towards me. In fact, this is what it says as the verse finishes. So let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer, the perfecter of our faith. Fixing our eyes. Perhaps you've seen a greyhound race before. As the greyhounds take off around the track, they're not running after each other or a treat. They're running after a mechanical rabbit that is encircling the track over and over again. The greyhounds, almost unaware of the other dogs on the track, they're solely focused on getting that rabbit. They're locked in. Nothing distracts them. That's what we're called to do. You and I are called, as we think about running and running, we're called to have a hyper-focused attentiveness. We're called to fix our focus. Fix your eyes. Set your eyes. Set your focus. Most versions will say the word fixed. Some will say look or looking. The idea is the same. The subject is the same. It's your eyes. He's saying make sure your eyes are looking or focused or fixed on Jesus. It's easy to fix our focus on a lot of earthly, worldly things. Our success, our house, our family, our marriage, the success of my job, my car, our vacations, our stocks, our future, how we're accepted, how we're not, what's for dinner, what's going on this weekend. So to fix our eyes on Jesus, then, requires intentionality. It requires hard work. It requires you to choose. But fixing your eyes on Jesus accomplishes two really important things. Number one, it frees you up from distraction. And two, it keeps you motivated to run on course. Back in June of 2012, Nick Wallenda, who was a daredevil, did something for the first time. In fact, here's a picture of him. This is Nick Wallenda. He was the first man to walk directly over Niagara Falls on a tightrope. Now, this was televised live. He began at 10 o'clock Eastern Time with that first step on that tightrope. Now, with the wind that night and the water rushing over the falls, the mist was so thick on the Canadian side, he couldn't actually see much other than what was right in front of him for about 10 of the 30 minutes. But step by step by step, spoiler alert, he made it, got across to the other side. And when he came down from the tightrope and he was being interviewed live, he said this. He said, because of the mist, I couldn't see. I could not look down. I couldn't look left or right. I had to keep my focus and my eyes fixed in front of me. He had to fix his focus. He had to fix his eyes intentionally, and we are called as runners to do the same. You see, to run without baggage, to run continuously on a path, we must fix our focus on Jesus. He's the why and the who. Jesus, the pioneer, the perfecter, the originator, the initiator of our faith. Your version might read, he's the author and finisher of our faith. Jesus is not only the beginning and the why, he's also at the end, the finish line. In other words, he's the one that went ahead of all of us racers, and now he waits at the finish line, ready for you to cross victoriously. It's a pretty cool picture. Now, here the author reminds us that Jesus, too, knows about endurance. All throughout the Bible, and of course in the New Testament when it comes to Jesus, he doesn't just say, do as I say. He says, do as I did. I get that this is going to be hard. Loving your neighbor, yeah, I had to do that too. Forgiving someone, I had to do that too. Running ad nauseum, yeah, I did that too. I mastered endurance. Because here's how Hebrews continues. For the joy set before him, he, Jesus, endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Pause there. Jesus patiently, willingly endured the cross on your behalf. Remember that definition of endurance from the beginning? Hardship, stress, adversity. He did that. He took that on your behalf. He took on your shame and your sin. That was not due him at all. And following that, his reward, he finds himself exactly where he should be, at the right hand of God. He understands endurance. He understands having to keep on going. And then it continues. It says this, consider him who endured such opposition from sinners. Why? So that you will not grow weary and lose heart. So that. This is important. We often say that Jesus knows how you feel. He's been where you are, and it's true here as well. He's run the race you're running. He knows the course. And so he tells you this, Paul gives you this complete picture so that you understand. Jesus isn't saying just, hey, you want to follow me? Okay, start running. He's saying Jesus gets it. It's going to be hard. There are times when your sides will hurt. You want to give up. Keep on going. Keep your eye on the prize. I remember back to junior high, and all 3 years of junior high, 7th, 8th, and 9th grade down in Federal Way, once a month in PE, we had to time the mile. Now, I remember when Mr. Nielsen would give us a heads up, like tomorrow's mile day, and I would always think to myself, there's got to be a way to get out of it. Like, I'm sick, or I am sick, or I'm dying. I don't know. I was like, how can I get out of the mile? For the record, I never got out of the mile. But I remember every month, we would come down to our outdoor track, and he'd line us all up. He'd say, do your best, and he'd start the stopwatch, and we would start running. Now, I remember that first lap was like piece of cake city, right? Like everyone's like, how was your weekend? That was great. Are you playing Atari? Yeah, Donkey Kong's awesome. Hey, the Mariners, it was 95, by the way. Mariners, man, they're doing awesome. We're all just having a great first run. First lap is great, and then second lap happens. That's when the show-offs like take off running. You're like, cool, okay, we'll see you at the end. And us slow pokes were like starting to slow down just a little. And then lap 3 is when you actually start questioning your life. Like tunnel vision, you're like, I can't breathe. And that lap 3, I remember these words even today. As I'm on lap 3, Mr. Nielsen, with his whistle around his neck and his clipboard on his side, from across the track would yell 3 words, gut check time. And if he said your name, you knew he was watching you. He knew my name a lot. Brian, gut check time. I knew he was watching. I knew he knew I had a little bit more in me. And so with that yelling of gut check time, I knew I could make it around one more time. And so through that pain, through that struggle, that perseverance, I would make it through, get that second win, and keep on running. Endurance is action. Verse 3 ends with that so that. I love so that's in the Bible. In fact, every time you see one, as Kip would say, circle, star, underline it, because it's going to tell you what's next. It's the so what. We're called to be mindful of our race coach in Jesus. He endured ahead of us. And so when we consider him, it helps us battle our weariness that much more, and maybe gives us that little boost we need for one more lap. You see, here's the reality. The words set before the Hebrews then are true for you, Cornwall Church, today. Endurance is not a new concept. Endurance is not something easily attained. It's something you have to work at. It's an action. So the question to consider is, how's your running going? Like, can you say from Acts 20:24, my only aim is to finish the race and complete the task the Lord has given me. My only aim is to finish the race. Or 2 Timothy 4:7, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I've kept the faith. I've finished the race. Man, others have raced and they've won, and their crossing the finish line should be an encouragement to you as well. You too can finish well. So for us today, are we willing to endure? Are we willing to get into shape, to persevere? Laps 1, laps 2, they're a piece of cake. We are in lap 3. For us today, who makes up your cloud of witnesses? Who in this watching world is standing in your Colosseum, cheering you on, wanting you to succeed, spurring you on, encouraging you to persevere? For us today, what do you need to throw off? What do you need to throw off today every day this week, whatever is weighing down your heart and your life, avoid it. Get rid of it. Toss it to the side. Are you ready to run? Or are you tangled up in life stuff? Do you need to switch out the boots for some Nikes so that you can get to running? For us today, do you need blinders so that like a greyhound, you are singularly focused on the race ahead? And for us today, do you find comfort in sometimes, oftentimes, not knowing what the race course is ahead of you, but finding that assurance that the race course has been created by someone that knows the race and knows you? So when hills seem insurmountable and the distance seems a little too long, we can be reminded, oh yeah, Jesus, he's got me. Jesus has got this. Sean Farrell says it this way: that is the name of the game, endurance. The Christian life isn't a sprint, it isn't a marathon. It's a sprinting marathon. We are in this for the long haul. As I mentioned, marathons are not my jam. According to the Boston Marathon Runner's Guide, without proper endurance training, most who enter a marathon will want to give up around the 20th mile. 20 of 26. With just 6 miles to go, if you've not mastered endurance, you want to call it quits with 6 miles to go. Cornwall, online, Skagit. Maybe today you're feeling like this is the 20th mile. Maybe today you're feeling like this is that third lap. And you know what? I just want to toss in the towel. I'm done. I'm tired. I'm guessing you're not alone. For 18 months, we have been running through a pandemic. We lived at home. We worked at home. We did school at home. We masked up. Food has been delivered to our houses. We canceled trips. We canceled play dates. We attended church online. And through it all, we stayed the course. We fixed our eyes and we kept running. And around the time we thought, this is it, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, we discovered there's more running to do. There's more race to run. And I will tell you, I am tired. As a pastor at Cornwall Church, I am tired. And you might, well, wait a second. You're paid to be a pastor. You can fill yourself with the word and all that. Yeah, I'm also just human Brian, and I'm tired of running at times. I'm guessing you're tired too. I'm guessing that a break on the sideline sounds pretty good right about now. But let me tell you this. As a follower of Jesus, our endurance is to race the long distance, not the short term. John MacArthur would say this: endurance is the steady determination to keep going regardless of the temptation to give up. To engage in spiritual endurance is us making a renewed commitment and effort every time we think, oh, it's too hard. This is too challenging. There are times when this will require tolerating discomfort, remaining steadfast through criticism, or overwhelming odds. I love, though, what Romans 5:3 says. It says, suffering produces endurance. Endurance produces character. And character produces hope. Suffering produces endurance. Endurance produces character. And character produces hope. It was in the spring of this year, I was at a track meet down in Skagit County. And it was one of the long-distance races, and one by one, runners were coming through the finish line and giving their time and collapsing on the turf. And I thought everyone was done. Then suddenly off to my right, I hear a slow clap. And suddenly that gained momentum, and people were now clapping in the stands. And then that transcended down to the field where there was a good amount of clapping and cheering now. And as I look off to my left, about the 200-yard mark, I see one last runner red face and sweating and just shuffling along, but running. And as she made her way to that 100-yard mark, that straightaway to the finish line, it was so loud at this stadium, at this field. The cloud of witnesses made up of parents and coaches and competitors from 3 different schools, it was overwhelming. They were a cheering section, cheering for someone who wasn't going to give up and was all about committed to finishing the race. I don't know her. I don't know her story. I don't know her name, but I can tell you this. She wanted to finish those last 100 yards and finish them well. I don't know how long you've been spiritually running. Maybe it was a kid. Maybe it's been more recent. But the start line, the start time, that doesn't matter. The finish line does. Wherever you are on the track, wherever you are on the course, we are on the same team. We are running the same race. But keep this in mind. Paul would say to the Corinthians in 1 Corinthians, run in such a way to get the prize. We are running to get a crown that will last forever. And therein lies your last fill-in and the great challenge. It's this, to run like it matters, because church, it does. It matters to those rooting you on. It matters to your family and your support systems, because as you spur them on, they're spurring you on. It matters to those that are watching you from afar, curious how you will fare when your faith is tested through your endurance. And it matters to the Lord, the one who created the course and is coaching us along, and every now and then saying, gut check time. Gut check time. Here's the bottom line. When we step back and look at the totality of these 3 simple verses that you've likely heard before, it all comes down to this summary. Considering this great cheering section that we have, that you have in your life, and throwing away all those hindrances that make it harder to run, and realizing that you're running on a predetermined course, and fixing our focus on Jesus, our coach, and understanding that he mastered endurance before we even had a thought about it, then what? Then we can race with confidence, with passion, with understanding, excitement, and a commitment to finish the race well. Skagit, I'm going to turn you over to Pastor Scott. And for those that are worshiping with us online, Pastor Kip has some closing thoughts for you. And for those here in Bellingham.
Well, it's been said that where our focus is, our faith will follow. And where our faith is, our life will follow. So focus is important. Pastor Brian knocked it out of the park, just hitting that whole point home that we aren't running aimlessly, that we have to have that focus on Jesus. I love the whole idea of a gut check, that it's gut check time. And I don't know about you guys, but so many of us are just feeling that it's time for that gut check as you're running and running and running. But we don't run aimlessly. Our focus is on Jesus, and through the power of his Holy Spirit, he gets us the strength to finish the race and finish it well. His challenge, run like it matters because it does, is just so true. Your life matters, and what you do matters. To those around you, you may not even know how your race matters to someone, but it does, and it matters especially to Jesus. Well, we're all excited about our Facebook group that we have now, and we'd love to have you join us. It's simple to join. Just text 94000. That's the number you'd text, 94000, and just type in the word or the letters join us, JOINUS. Join us, one word. And what you'll get is a note from Pastor Brian, and all of a sudden you will be able to join our Facebook page and join that community, such a powerful community. Hey, don't forget about Refuge this week. We've got Refuge Wednesday night. It's at 6:30 Pacific time. Yours truly here is going to be preaching the heat. It's actually like a 7-minute sermonette, but we've got amazing music, and we're going to be pointing people to Jesus. Make sure you got your communion elements ready. It's going to be a blast. Well, we're so glad that you joined us this week and you're attending online. Thank you so much for being part of our Cornwall family. Have a great week. We love you. You're out of here.
Hide me now under your wings. Cover me within your mighty hand. When the oceans rise and thunders roll, I will soar with you above the storm. Father, you are king over the flood. I will be still, know you are God. Find rest, my soul, in Christ alone, and know His power in quietness and trust. When the oceans rise and thunders roll, I will soar with you above the storm. Father, you are king over the flood. I will be still, know you are God. I will be still and know you are God.
You are peace to a restless soul. Yeah, you are peace where my thoughts
wage war. You are peace to the anxious heart, and that's who you are. That's who you are. Yeah, you are peace where my feet takes hold. Yeah, you are peace when I feel enclosed. Oh, you are peace when I lose control. That's who you are. That's who you are. And when the oceans rise and thunders roll, I will soar with you above the storm. Father, you are king over the flood. I will be still, know you are God. Oh, I will be still, know you are God.